Hey, real estate nerds, this is Alex Yoder with Pro Tip Tuesday, my favorite day of the week. And today I want to talk about conservative business principles applied to a landlord's perspective. So let me talk about that for a minute. So when I say conservative business principles, I mean principles that basically allow for no risk. Like if you are really risk adverse and you are going into a situation where you are renting out a property to the general public, sort of the ultra conservative approach to managing that new business or venture or real estate would be to make sure that you do everything you can to avoid any kind of risk. And so, and this is actually, I'm reminded of this because I remember meeting with a couple some years ago that had several rental properties. And I'll tell you basically how they interacted with their tenants and sort of how they set it up. So they were so worried, like truly worried, and they'd been just doing this for like 20 years. They were so worried about their tenants causing damage to their properties that were their babies, that their rule was that we always have to meet the people that are applying at the property before we agree to rent to them, before they can even apply, so we can get a good feeling about them. Once they move in, we will be heavily involved. We will be visiting their home at least once a month, and we want to create a relationship with them and have Thanksgiving dinner with them and have them invite us over to their house for dinner. Like they literally told me this. They want to be heavily involved in these people's lives. And the primary reason for that involvement was basically this fear that if they didn't control all of the things and if they didn't know these people on an intimate level, that there would be a lot more risk in renting out this property to a total stranger. So they kind of force them to not be a stranger by being heavily involved so that they can keep an eye on the property and walk through it on a regular basis. It was just a very weird way of going about it. And one of the things that they kind of touted in telling me this was, we never raise the rent on our tenants. We want to keep 20-year tenants. Like that was kind of their mindset. And this kind of what I would call maybe somewhat of an old school mindset and perspective, this very conservative business approach to managing properties. And in many cases, even if you're a business owner, being so risk adverse that you are controlling all of the things to excess without consideration for the value of your time is something that I see very regularly with business owners and with landlords. And it's truly to their detriment. And I say this out of a heart for people who are landlords, for business owners. And I'm not perfect and I don't make all the perfect decisions as a business owner myself, but we really try to consider, okay, what's the risk analysis here? There's always going to be some level of risk, and what's the value of my time, And I actually had lunch with somebody today where we were talking about people basically spending $10,000 worth of their time to avoid a $500 liability. And so are you spending a $10,000 amount of time, if you assigned any value to your time, to avoid a $500 liability? And if so, maybe you should reconsider the way that you are approaching your rental property. And so in the example of the couple I just gave you, if they had more of this is a business, I'm going to treat it like a business and I'm going to evaluate risk and accept that risk kind of mindset, they probably wouldn't have, one of the reasons they didn't do rent increases was likely that they had created such a relationship with every one of their tenants by force that they didn't feel comfortable, like emotionally it felt bad to raise their rent. And so now they've kind of invested emotionally, which is holding them back financially because of this old school mindset, I'm going to call it. And I'm poking some people that I know, but that's because I care. And I like to see people put themselves in a position where their businesses can really allow them to thrive and allow them to progress and allow them to get to that next level so that they can, be happy individuals that are able to spend more time with the people they care about, And so I guess my challenge would be that if you have a really hard time disconnecting and you're a landlord, or if you're a business owner, I would challenge you to reconsider the approach and the way that you view your time and how risk adverse you are, and figure out ways to get through that, or to reconsider just the way that you go about it. And one of those ways can be in hiring a property manager. Now that requires a whole nother level of disconnect. But if you find a good property manager that you know and trust, and the property manager is still going to make mistakes from time to time, but you find a well-rated company that allow you to disconnect, that allow you to just enjoy your life for a very nominal percentage. It really is not, your common management fee is nothing compared to the amount of work that's being done. And the only way that PM companies, by the way, make any money is by doing it at a large scale, and kind of strengthen numbers. So anyway, that's my feedback. That's my push. That's my challenge for you. If you feel like you kind of fall into that conservative business, that conservative landlord mentality, to not get in your own way, to let go a little bit, and to find better ways forward so that you can be a happier individual with the investments that you are making. That's all for today. We'll see you next week.